Do I have a basket? My powder basket. Do I have any other baskets? I don't have any other baskets. Baskets. Good afternoon. In today's video, we are doing a beginner tutorial. I'm going to keep it really simple. I have had this request from someone that I know, and she asked for something simple every day. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Now, I'm not going to do all the steps I personally do every day because I don't think that's beginner friendly. It's not a quick, efficient way to get your makeup done. I sit here for, an hour at least and do my makeup every day. So I know not everybody has that kind of time or that desire to do that. So this is going to be a more basic, simple, kind of covering up some of this redness, putting on some eyebrows, a little bit of eyeshadow, just kind of the basics of it, but how to maybe do it efficiently and some of my recommendations from the drugstore. So for eyebrows, I recommend using a pencil if you're just starting. That was my favorite way to do it. I tried to use pomades and things when I first started, and I think that's just harder to control. It's not quite as, this is just like drawing on. So this is the Milani Precision Brow Pencil. I really like this one. I also really like any of the e.l.f. brow pencils. Those are good too. So with my brow pencil, I'm just going to outline my brows. And not everybody would need to do this, I don't think. I just kind of trace along the bottom. And then just start to fill it in a little bit. Using little strokes. You don't want to color it all the way in. We're using very light pressure. And just kind of grazing over the top. Just a little light fill in. And then take the other end with the spoolie and brush it through. And there's that. Now I think, like I said, pencils are the easiest for me. They do sell pomades and gels and all that, and I use all of that too, but simplifying here. If you just get a nice little brow pencil that has like a spoolie on the end, I think it's just the easiest way to go. Now these do run out a lot faster than like a pomade, but again, for efficiency. So there we have our brows filled in. Just kind of go with what's there. I have, a pretty nice outline of my brows already. If you're drawing them on from scratch, I'm not the person to go to for that, but I just outline what's already there. Okay, so that's about it for eyebrows for a quick routine. For foundation, I'm going to go in with the L'Oreal Infallible 24-Hour Fresh Wear. This I think is a pretty middle of the road, a medium coverage, a nice skin-like finish, very easy to use, and I don't love the shade range of this. It's a good shade range, but for me, L'Oreal always runs a little bit on the warmer side, a little bit of a yellow undertone in pretty much every color. So I may just need a lighter shade. This is a little darker than I would normally go, but I think that this foundation is just so easy to use, and it's not really mattifying, it's not really glowy, so I feel like this is a good one from the drugstore as a beginner, easy to use, simple foundation. So I'm actually going to use a sponge. You could also use a brush. I prefer this sponge. This is the e.l.f. sponge, the Total Complexion sponge, I believe. So like $6 at Walmart. I'm actually going to put the foundation directly on my sponge today, using one full pump, and I'm going to dab this on my cheeks, all over my face, and then I'm going to blend it in. This is wet. I did wet it under the sink and then wring it out in a towel. To apply this, you could also just put it on the back of like a palette or something, or you can put it on your hand, or you could put it, directly on your face, but I don't like to get it all over my fingers necessarily, especially this. It's a very runny foundation, so I'm actually going to squirt a little bit more on my sponge. Oh, getting low. That's shocking. Okay. And then I'm just going to dab it where I want more coverage. I'm going to pull this down my neck a little bit because it isn't quite a perfect match for me. It looks okay on camera, but blemishes, ugh. But it is a little, it does oxidize on me a little bit, meaning it gets a little bit darker as I wear it. So I feel like maybe if I grabbed like 410, 400, it might be better. But I think the undertones of those were a little bit warmer. So once you're happy with the amount of coverage you have, you could always add more if you want, but I think a pump or two, depending on how far down your neck you're pulling it and stuff like that, you know. I'd start with one pump and then go from there. But yeah, that way I would be careful like squirting it out on your finger, though it is very, very runny. So you could always put it on like your compact or something, like squirt it out on that, and from there pick it up with your brush or sponge. You could also use your fingers. I don't ever do that, but you could do that if you wanted to. All right, onto concealer. I actually have two recommendations here. This is the Covergirl True Blend Undercover Concealer. I really like this one. And I also have the e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer. Also really good, but these have a very similar kind of finish. They're both pretty full coverage, so I'm going to use the Covergirl today, the True Blend Undercover. So I really like this one. I'm just going to put a little bit of this under my eyes, a little on my chin, a little on this thing. I go down the center of my nose, and I'm going to pull a little bit onto my eyelids as an eyelid primer today. I don't normally do it with concealer, but I feel like, again, beginner trying to get out the door, you probably don't want to dig out a separate eyeshadow primer. So all right, I'm going to take that same sponge and just blend over that concealer. Now when you're picking a foundation shade, I try to match it to my neck. Then I just pick a concealer that's maybe a shade or two lighter than that. You know, you don't want to go too bright for concealer simply because it won't cover much. If you want it to be brighter, you know, pick a lighter one, but I am going to take whatever's left on this sponge onto the eyelid. You can see the difference that made on my eyelids. Just to give it a smoother base and a nice blanked out color for our eyeshadow here in a second. Again, not trying to use too much product here. Start with a little, add it if you want. And if you're using a brush, I would just use like a dense brush like this. Something like really, you know, firmly packed. If you wanted to use a brush, tap that on. You could even use that for concealer. And then put that concealer wherever you have any, you know, blemishes or anything. If it's a really brightening concealer, I wouldn't put it on blemishes though. Alright, making sure we get it into the hairline. Some people put it on their ears, like their foundation. I don't normally do that simply because I'm wearing earrings, but okay. But I do like to blend it down my neck. See, you can probably tell, like foundation, white, and then my neck is always red. So I usually try to blend it down at least to the really white part for me personally. You're just trying to make it all look like your head belongs on your body, you know. Okay, we have that concealer blended in. Now really this shouldn't take you as long as it's taking me talking and explaining and going through everything, but just applying some foundation, a little bit of concealer, like this shouldn't be, you know, a life-changing event here. So for powder, I actually have two suggestions for this as well. If you want a pressed powder, the CoverGirl Clean Fresh, I've been loving this in this pink packaging. I have the shade 120 Fair. This has been really nice. If you want a loose powder, I think loose powder is a little harder to use, honestly. But if you wanted a loose powder, the Maybelline Fit Me, looks like that, is absolutely fantastic. And this is like one of the cheapest powders you can find. It's like $5 or $6 at Walmart. So there is that. I'm not going to use that today. Like I said, it's a little bit more, It's not hard to use, but anything in a loose form is going to be easier to make a mess with, you know. As opposed to this, I'm just going to stick a brush in here and put it on my face, you know. So I'm going to take a nice big fluffy brush. I'm just going to pick up some of that powder and just pat it on. If you have really dry skin, you wouldn't need to do this part. But if you have pretty oily skin, I would suggest setting it a little bit at least. But, I mean, it's totally up to you. I would pat it in and not swipe it. I don't like to swipe it across. I feel like that takes off the products that I have on. I do swipe it on my neck, though, just to kind of blend everything together. Kind of rub it in there. But yeah, on my face, I always pat, 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 trying not to disturb the things we have happening. So we've got our base going, looking pretty good. And then the last thing for the face I would really suggest you use if you've done the foundation and concealer is a little bit of blush. You can go in with bronzer and highlighter, which I will probably do, like I said, in another video, but I would put on blush, just to add a little bit of something to the face. This is the e.l.f. Primer Infused Blush, and this is in the shade Always Rosy. I have a ton of the shades. They're all beautiful, they're all really easy to use, and they're all very pigmented, so go easy. It is very, very pigmented. And I like to put mine kind of in an upward fashion. Just trying to lift the face a little bit here. Again, kind of stamping it on and then blending it if I need to. I think for a beginner, I think powder blush is a little bit easier. I've just recently gotten into a more liquidy blush, but I think this is just easier to control. Okay, I like a little bit down the nose as well, just to make it look a little bit more, you know, just bring some life back to the face. So there's that. Just blending out the edges here. And you wouldn't have to add so much blush if you don't like that much, but I personally love a good bit of coverage there. So that is all I would do for the face portion of this. A little bit of foundation, a little bit of brow pencil, some concealer, powder, and a blush. Again, highlighter, bronzer, you know, primers, all those things you could do. But I think this kind of combo, and you wouldn't even have to do all of those if you don't need concealer, or maybe you don't need to cover up everything on your face and you just want to go in with the concealer and a little bit of powder. You know, you can kind of pick and choose, tailor it to what you need. It doesn't necessarily have to be every step every day. So that's what I would do for a simple look. Again, it won't take you this long to do. I'm just rambling on and talking. So this is where we are. Now for eyeshadow, I actually have a couple of recommendations here. More brands than specific palettes. The e.l.f. bite-size quads are nice. These are like $4 now. They have lots of different choices. So the e.l.f. quads are good. The cream and sugar is definitely, you know, the most neutral, probably the easiest to wear. So there's that one. We may use this one today. We'll see. Another recommendation would be the Wet n Wild Color Icon. The 5-pan palettes, they also have 10-pan palettes. I've not tried the 10 pans, but I've heard that they're the same quality and they're only like $6 or whatever. These are like between $4 and $5, I think. And they're just the 5-pan palettes from Wet n Wild. Again, different colors, different choices. The Walking on Eggshells is probably your most basic. And then there's this one. But this is probably, you know, the most basic one you're going to get. Walking on Eggshells. And I personally, if your Walmart sells Profusion, like I know they all have the Wet n Wild palettes and the e.l.f. palettes. If your Walmart sells Profusion, I would recommend the Profusion palettes. This is the Bare palette and the Nudes palette. Now I have probably, if you watch my declutters, I probably have like 20 palettes from them. They have all different color stories. Take your pick. But as a beginner palette, I think one of these two would be more than appropriate. A lot. It's twice, you know, it's twice as many shades as this, but it's the same price as like this one. These two actually give me very similar. But you're going to get more choices, and I like these better, personally. So for my recommendations, I would go with the Profusion palettes, the Wet n Wild Color Icon, or the e.l.f. quads. So those are the ones I would look through, find a color story that you like. The quality of most of these are very, very similar. It's very good. Now I'm going to go ahead and use the Profusion Bare palette. And yes, I did declutter these, but I did pull them out for this video. So it kind of made me go, maybe I should keep it for this purpose. So I might keep one or two of these, but yeah, these little nudie palettes are not my favorite thing. I think I'm going to go with, these are very similar. I don't know why I bought both of these. That was ridiculous. I think I'm going to go with the Profusion Bare palette today. And I'm going to start, I think I'm going to use like one brush this whole time, maybe two. Real Techniques has some nice little sets. These are two brushes from Real Techniques. I would just get a fluffy brush and like a flat brush to start out, you know, if you're just kind of figuring out what you want to do. So I'm going to take that fluffy brush into the shade Recital, which is the shade over here. And I'm just going to put that through the crease of my eye. Okay. And that is why I like these Profusion ones a little better. They are a little bit more pigmented, I feel like. Alright, so take whatever like mid-tone shade is in your palette and go through the crease. Just kind of blending that out. Make sure you've blended out the crease in your concealer. You can make that as dark or as light as you want. I feel like that's pretty good, just like a mid-tone shade there. Now I'm going to go into one of the darker shades in the palette. Now this is kind of an optional step if, you know, this is what I would do. If I were going easy, I would do 3 different shadows. I would do a mid-tone in the crease. And I feel like this e.l.f. one is a good like example of the only things that it really has. I would use like this one in the crease, this in the outer corner, and then one of these on the lid. But with this Profusion one, you do have more options. But I am going to take this dark brown in the crease, or excuse me, on the outer corner. I'm going to use that same fluffy brush. We're going to go into the shade Tawny. I'm just going to tap that on the outer corner up into the crease. I don't want to take this one up too far. I'm trying to get a little definition out here. Nothing too exciting. See how that just added like a little bit? It just added a little bit of something. And then you can build that up as much as you want. Again, just a little bit at a time. I'm just kind of blending. Now I am blending inwards, like I'm going like this way. I don't want to blend it too far out. Kind of little circular motions. And these palettes are pretty forgiving, honestly. Like these Wet n Wild, the e.l.f., the Profusion, if you get these lighter shades. But with most of these palettes, if you go into the darker or brighter shade, it's going to be more. Okay, so you're just going to blend that into the crease a little bit. Then I am just taking like whatever is left here and just kind of blending out the edge. There's nothing extra on this. So there we go. Just a little bit of definition on the outer corner. Nothing too exciting. That's just 2 shades, but it makes it look like you put in a lot more effort than just putting some through the crease and a little bit on the outer corner. I'm going to grab one of these shimmers here. And I think I'm going to go for the shade Compelling down here. It's a bit more of like a pinky. I'm just going to take that on my finger. And I'm going to dab that across the lid. And just tap that on. Just kind of want it to meet up with the darker shade you put out here in the corner. Okay. And then I will take that fluffy brush again and go back into Recital, which was the shade we put through the crease. And I'm going to kind of go over that one more time into the crease and between the two shades. Just a little bit. And then where I put those two to meet. And there you have that. Now, if you wanted to go like under the eye, you could absolutely do that. Do a little bit under there, but we're going to keep it like really basic right now. So there is our Profusion eyeshadow palette. Like I said, love any of these, but Bare and Nudes or Classics are definitely like your best neutral palette, easiest to work with. They're just lighter colors, you know. But again, any of the e.l.f. palettes or the Wet n Wild little palettes. I will warn you about the e.l.f. palettes, as you can see by some of mine I have. They crumble pretty easily. I don't know if you can see that. Like champagne-y shade. It's kind of like crumbling out of this pan. It has been for a while. A couple of mine look like that. So, and as I close it, it just did it again. It just brought up more product. So I recommend the Profusion, but I know sometimes that's not as easy to find as the Wet n Wild or the e.l.f. ones. So they're all good quality, but just be aware of that with the e.l.f. They tend to kind of crumble a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and do mascara and lip gloss, and then we will be heading toward the end of this. Okay, so I'm going to curl my eyelashes. You don't have to do this part, but I do recommend if you're going to be wearing like mascara every day. I prefer to curl mine. Just a couple of, I like to squeeze it while I'm doing it. Gently, we're not trying to tear them out. See, look at that difference that already made. I don't know if you can tell, like how much they're already standing up, even without anything on them. Now, my favorite mascaras of all time are from the brand Essence. Any of the Lash Princess ones, I like the green one and the pink one. Those are my favorites. And the Essence Volume Stylist. These are like my top two. Now, these aren't easily accessible. I mean, they have them at Ulta and they have them at Meijer. If you live in a state where they have a Meijer, that's where I get mine from. I think these are like the best though. I also like the Maybelline Lash Sensationals, but honestly they're a little more complicated to use. Like the brush is really weird on the regular Maybelline Lash Sensational. I think these are just a little bit easier to use. Just gonna run this all the way over my lashes. Like, look at the length on that. I don't know if you can tell, like how long those lashes look. Same thing over here. Now I'm gonna go back in for another coat with the same mascara, that same green one. Now I do have to be careful. This can get smudgy on me. So I do always go over the top of it with another mascara. But even though it kind of smudges in the outer corner, it's so good it's worth it. You know what I mean? Like, and I have like super watery eyes, like 24/7 watery eyes. So if you don't have that affliction, it may not even be an issue for you. There's that one on its own. And like I said, this can get a little smudgy, so I am going to go over the top of it with the Volume Stylist just to kind of show you that one. This is a lot drier when you pull it out of the tube. Like, it'll look a little dried out. even when it's not. But that's kind of what makes this nice, is it's like ready to go. And I will show you how to get the mascara off your eyelid in just a second. Because I am a monster when I put on my mascara and I just go for it. There's no, I don't care if it gets everywhere. Like, I gotta have a ton. Look at those. Essence mascara. I'm telling you, any of the Lash Princess, they have different colors of, the tubes are different colors. And some are like, this is the false lash effect. They have like curl and volume, all kinds of stuff. I like all of these. The green and the pink are my favorite. And then the volume stylist in this, the 18-hour. Essence sells a ton of mascaras. I'm not familiar with the rest of them. I'm not recommending the other ones because I don't know how they perform. I've heard good things, but I don't personally know how they perform. All of these, I can tell you, personal experience, thumbs up, amazing, really, really good. So to get the mascara off my eyelid, I'm going to let it set for a few minutes and totally dry, and then I'm going to scrape it off. So for lips, I have a couple recommendations for that. If you want a full-on lipstick, like a true classic cream lipstick, I would recommend any of the Revlon ones. The Revlon lipsticks are really good. They have a ton of different shades, a lot of things to choose from, different finishes, different colors. So if you want a true lipstick, I would recommend those. This is the shade Blushing Nude. This is a really, really pretty one. I really like these. They don't have a scent. They don't have like any kind of taste or smell, nothing. It's just like standard, but a pretty like packaged lipstick. And they're only, I think they're a little more than $5 now at Walmart. You know, prices are going up, but that is a beautiful lipstick and a ton of choices. You know, like if you wanted a red, a nude, a purple, they have pretty much everything. Now, another thing, if you just wanted a gloss to kind of throw on really quickly, e.l.f. I think is where that's at for a drugstore. Essence also has glosses that are good. But e.l.f. also has a couple. They have a lip plumping gloss and just a lip lacquer. Very inexpensive, very good. I really like the lip plumping better, but it does give a little bit of a tingly sensation, so if you're not into that. But the little lip lacquers, these are like $3. Very good. And Essence also has some lip glosses. This one is, obviously, I've had it for a little bit. These are really, really nice as well. So if you're in, you know, getting your Essence mascara. If you're getting some Essence mascaras, maybe they're having like a, you know, buy two get one or something. The lip gloss is also very good from them. Or an e.l.f. lip gloss. So I'm going to go ahead and put on my Revlon lipstick just so you can see that. Very easy, very simple. Again, depending on the color, depending on the finish, it's going to look a little different. But there's that. I'm going to blot off a little of that, and then I'll show you the lip gloss as well. This is the lip lacquer from e.l.f. Someone is mowing again every day. I don't have that many neighbors. Like, how do they have any grass? I don't know. Anyway, I mean, look at those. Look at that. I love these mascaras so much. Okay, I'm going to take a little spoolie. Actually, since this is what I'm talking about, I'm going to take the spoolie from my brow pencil. Actually, there's not like too much on it. I'm just going to take that and scrape off, like gently running it, wherever I have touched mascara to my lid, which is most places because, like I said, I'm not careful. And I'm used to wearing eyeliner, and it's where I normally get it, is like where I would put my eyeliner. Okay. And that is it for our beginner makeup look. Not too much was happening here. We started with a brow pencil. We went on to some foundation, applied with our sponge. We put on a little concealer, some powder, some blush, and then an eyeshadow palette, which there were a lot of choices for that. Did a little eyeshadow, some mascara, and your choice of lipstick or lip gloss. not overly. I mean, this looks like a lot of products, I mean, realistically, but you can pick and choose what you want to use. You know, maybe you don't want an eyeshadow, maybe you don't want lipstick, maybe you don't care to put on powder, you know, maybe you don't need a full-on foundation. You know, tailor it to what you want. But this was a very simple, you know, everyday routine that you could do in a pretty quick fashion. There's no, you know, contouring, no highlighting, no, you know, full on like graphic eyeliner, nothing like that. So hopefully this was kind of a simple break it down, show you a couple simple little pieces to do something fairly easy, nothing too loud. Now I was going to put on my eyeliner, but I was going to do a winged eyeliner with this, but I feel like with my lashes this long, I'm going to like clump them all together. So the next time I put on black eyeliner, I will do like a more in-depth on how I do that. I would recommend using tape. If you're curious, if you're starting using black eyeliner like doing wings, I recommend using tape. I know not everybody feels good about that, you know, putting that on your skin, but I feel like that's how I started doing it, and now I don't. I feel comfortable doing it now, but to get that, you know, motion and to save yourself forever of cleaning it up, to get the shape you want, I do feel like using tape is a nice, easy way to do it. I will say, if you're going to practice doing winged eyeliner, like you don't want to wear it out, you just want to try to do it, when you go to take off this makeup at night, sit down in your mirror, and that's when I would apply it. Before you take off your makeup, when you're not going out anywhere else, and just try. Just see what you come up with, see what you like. If you know, that way you're like, oh, that is out to my, you know, eyebrows. I can wipe all that off and be done. That's how I would recommend starting if you're not comfortable with it, or like I said, using the tape. So those are some recommendations on that, but I will, like I said, show a more in-depth thing on that later. But I feel like this looks really cute. This looks really nice. This looks really simple, but it looks like you put in some time. Again, it took me, this is probably a forever long video because I was trying to explain why and what I was doing. So I hope this answered some questions. I hope this gave you some recommendations. I did look up most of these things, and most of these things are for sale at like Walmart. Again, the Essence mascaras are Ulta or Meyer, or I don't know where they sell them near you, but Ulta does sell those. And I think that is all. If you have any other questions, please let me know. I hope that the person who asked this, I will let her know that I have posted this so she can watch it. But other than that, I hope you enjoyed this simple look. But if you pick, you know, a couple of key products like the blush, the mascara, and the lip gloss, I think those are three things that really like liven it up really quickly without having to do like a really detailed eye, which I love, don't get me wrong. But I think just the mascara and the lip gloss and the cheeks, it just livens up your face and brightens everything up. So honestly, if you're going to do anything, those are the things I would recommend. Is a little bit of blush, a little bit of mascara, and a little bit of lip gloss. I think these things will just kind of bring that youthful life back to your face. And other than that, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was helpful, and I hope you'll consider subscribing, and I will see you next time. Bye.